Alright, man. We have got the 2071 Jonsered back on the bench here. After watching the footage of this thing running in the wood, there's something very not right about this thing. And during my inspection, of course, I saw the bluing on the crankshaft and the rubbing. And I think it's doing that again. So somebody had a good point. It could be that the crankshaft is like really offset. But I mean, there's like 1/8 of an inch of play that the crankshaft has to move in the case. And you would start to see something like when I replaced the crank seals. I probably would have seen something that would indicate that it was off. But it could have been the bearing. And it could have been an intermittent problem. Like only one spot as that crankshaft is moving around. Like the bearing might have got out of sync, or, you know, a roller fell out of the cage and is kind of rattling back and forth, allowing the crank to move. I don't know. We're going to dig in here and figure it out today, though. Welcome to Man Time. Alright, well, there is a couple things that I want to do today. One of them, so when the saw quit running right, or just basically wasn't running right with a load on it, it was running okay without the load. That's a freedom dispensing unit right there. Love that in the country. Anyways, so the saw wasn't running right with a load on it, and I got to thinking back, like, man, that crank had really bad bluing, like on the lower rod end side of it, and so that would indicate probably something wrong with that rod bearing. And with it running crappy like that, it could have been that, it could have been the bearing, but either way, it's going to be the crankshaft that's bad and or the bearing that's bad. So I got a new set of bearings, and I went and found a crank on eBay. New, those are going for between like 150, 200, somewhere in there. Again, I don't have a local Husqvarna dealer that's going to be a good, reliable source for spare parts. So I go to eBay and ended up finding a used one in fairly okay shape. We're going to see it here in a minute because I got to put new bearings on it. That's going to be the step one, right? Preparation for pulling this apart and seeing the worst. Crank is still bad. Bearing may be part of the problem. Rod has, again, worn on the piston. So I've got another piston just in case, 50mm single ring, same piston. I hate to get into these projects and leave like a box full of parts. It's just really hard to pick up where you left off. And I mean, you want to approach any maintenance type of situation that way. You want to evaluate it as best you can and figure out what kind of parts you're going to need and tools you're going to need to make that repair. Get those tools and parts you need before you start the repair. Otherwise, you know, you see these like driveways with half torn apart cars in them for months and months that turns into years and years. That's kind of how that stuff starts. But anyways, I'm going to get these bearings heated up with a heat gun. I'm going to go grab my crank out of the freezer. Wife found it in there and wasn't very happy. She's like, what is this metal part in the freezer? It's my chainsaw crankshaft. Why is it by the ice? You know, it's just these things that we have to explain are difficult sometimes as men. We just have to overcome those things and press forward. Oh man, these SKF, like Italy, these are 6202/C3s made in Italy. I mean, they are just glorious. Yeah. Either way, this saw deserves a good set of new bearings in it. Probably should have started there and just done it the right way. This is going to be like a primary pickup for me, like my 65. So let's get these going. I'm going to grab my heat gun, get these heated up, and I'll get the crank out here. Once I get kind of everything set up, we'll get the camera in here. That should be a pretty quick process. If I can quit blabbing for a minute, I'll get the heat gun out here, like heat up these bearings, run inside, grab the crank real quick, get the camera set up before all that hit play, I should just be able to set the bearings on the crank, and then we'll get to disassembly and seeing what was going on the inside of this thing. Well, that didn't work. Alright, man, we are at the moment of truth. I got it all broke down here, and just got the exhaust off, got the carb out of the way, got the head broke free from the sealant. I went ahead and looked inside here. I didn't see anything that looked too bad. And now we can see what we can see. Alright, good deal. Cylinder is still 100%. Yeah, you can see here, like the liquid gasket, it squishes into the transfer. So you've got a little bit of your transfer lost, you know, to that gasket, which kind of stinks. Maybe I can do a better job. Maybe I can do a better job trying not to get so much on there. But there wasn't very much. I mean, minimal amount of squish. But anyways, I tried to get the bearings on the crank. Yeah, we'll try again. Okay, let's see what the piston is looking like here. The problem was the crankcase was getting like really, really hot. Really hot. Yeah, so the piston seems fine. The crank seems fine. There's lots of lube down here. But why was the crank getting so hot? Yeah, you can see that 40-to-1 on the on the red armor. It's just coated. I mean, everything has got a nice coat. And still, we don't have any up and down play. The only thing I can think of, you know, is the crank is bad or a bearing's bad. So I'm going to break it down the rest of the way where we can get in here and look at these bearings. That's the only way I'm going to figure it out. So we will check back in a minute. Well, it is about that time to figure out what the heck is going on in here. And it's tough, you know, it's tough getting the criticism. Not even criticism, like helpful hints from other men, right? I mean, that's what men do. We give advice to people struggling to fix something, right? That's just what we do. But it makes you question, like, did you, like, really take a look at everything and make sure everything was good? And I mean, I'm looking at it again. I don't see, again, any problem, you know, with the bearings or the lineup. So this is before we're splitting it, just like as disassembled, right? You would expect to see, you know, something going on here, but there's just not. Like, it's centered as far as I can see. If anything, maybe it's biased a little bit this way, which wouldn't make sense because it's rubbing on this side. And the piston has an uneven wear pattern, and we'll look at that a little bit closer compared to a brand new one, you know, here in a second. But let's see if we can get this sucker split and maybe get a, you know, factual reason why it is not running right. Stuff. Is there one in here? There is. There's one right there. That was our issue. Attention to the details. And that's kind of what I was talking about. Like, did I pay enough attention as I was taking this thing apart, you know, the first time? Or, you know, did I miss something? It's hard to say. But here's where we're going to find the culprit. Yeah, this side. This side is where I suspected we would have. Yeah, that's definitely a one-time use O-ring. Yeah, and the bearing seems fine. It's got a little hiccup. Yeah, the bearing is not fine. One side wants to bite on the bearing and the other side on the case. Just a little bigger hammer. Alright, well, here is what we got looking at the crank. And you can see there, it is starting to blue there. I didn't see that before. And it's, you know, blued all around there. And there's damage there. So, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, I don't see any reason why that is, though. Like this. I mean, this saw is old and wore out, but the crank is like the least likely, you know, part of the system to fail. And I inspected, you know, all around here. I guess the rule of thumb, though, is if you see purple, you know, throw it away. Huh. Yeah, there's a wear mark here on the clutch side. Let's see if there's a similar wear on the piston on the clutch side. So it's intake this side, intake on this side. So I mean clutch is on this side. So inside of here, yeah, there is some wear. Yeah, there is some wear inside of there. There's clutch side. But there's still a ridge and like a groove. And then here's our flywheel side, and it's actually smooth, like there's no ridge. So, like looking at this inside of here, you've got clutch side here, and that is again going to be on this side. So if we mate these two up, yeah, I mean, it's still a pretty nice fit. The bluing here would be on this side, yeah, so it was rubbing there. This is just a confusing one, because I don't see anything wrong with this, other than the bluing. Like, as far as, you know, up and down play, there is none. Like, whatever direction I rotate it to, there's no back and forth play. There's side-to-side play, right? But it's able to move freely along that bearing, you know, unless, yeah, I just don't know. Sweden H99. I would have thought that maybe this was getting hot because of bearing and heating this up, but that's not the case. Our wrist pin bearing here is also, you know, starting to blue, but it's in good shape. Like, I don't see anything that would have caused that. And our bearing is in fairly good shape here. Yeah, I don't feel anything bad there. Huh. So, I just don't know. I am going to replace the bearings in the crank and port the cylinder. Okay, man, it is the next day, and after spending a lot of time looking at this crank, I did end up seeing what was wrong with it. And you can just barely see it kind of on the inside of this bearing right here. It's shiny on this side, right over here. And the crank actually sits sideways and kind of like digs in. So it's kind of like sitting side. I don't know if the actual crankshaft is bent, or the piston rod is bent, or what, but it tends to like work over, and it'll bend like one way, and not like right there is straight up and down, and then it bends to the side, and it's just wearing out. Yeah, so this is like my first chainsaw with a bad crank. Yeah, really weird. Really weird. Yeah, I don't know if this bearing is the culprit. You know, these little roller bearings could be broken inside of there. I don't know. I mean, it seems to, you know, do okay, but it's not. So I've got this one. You know, we put those new bearings on. It is the next day, and these are super smooth. Bearings out of the old one, and yeah, this one, it's like the same amount of play back and forth. You know, I was sitting there just playing with both of them for a while, trying to figure out like what went wrong, why, you know, that sort of thing. But I think I figured it out, and it was the crank. So I got a new crank. That's going to be going in. Alright, and I did some machine work. So I've got the cylinder here. I remember needing to take about 30 thousandths off, so that's what I did here, about 30 thousandths off. I'm also going to take out the grinder, and I'm going to case match the cylinder to the case. So taking these chunks off here and here, and then I've got some marks on this lip here where it's going to mate up to the case. So basically what you do there is you take a couple bolts and you bolt it on to half of the case, and then you look up under here and you make some marks to kind of figure out where you want to cut material off of the cylinder to match this opening here. So that's what I've done. I'm going to get my grinder out, grind this up, and then we're going to go to porting it, because at this point there's no sense in leaving it stock, right? This is phase one, so we've done our machining. Now we've got nice, big, smooth, slick transfers, straight shots for the air to flow through. Took that down to a point, that down to a point, and then of course this took it back and then down to a point. Some other things I noticed: the exhaust port is really, really small. It can be widened open about an 1/8 inch aside, so that is what I'm going to do. And then the intake was pretty anemic from the notes. I want to get that bumped up to about 80 or 160, and then with 25 degrees of blowdown, you know, I'm running 45 on the crankcase pressure. So I think that is what I'm going to want to do. There's a little bit of a ridge down in the bottom here. I still haven't set up to be able to machine inside the squish band there. But if that ends up being a little too tight with the machine work, I'll just cut a little pop-up in the piston and call it a day. So I'm going to start with the intake here. Maybe change bits out. Yeah, I want a fresh bit. When you go into... And so what I'm going to do is get a fresh bit and go right at the plating first thing, and then go back from there. Because that's the one thing that can get you, you know, is a dull bit on the plating, and that can chip that plating. Although I've never had it happen on an OEM cylinder, just on the aftermarket ones. So, go figure. Okay, so we got all of the porting done, and just wanted to show you real quick here, when you're case matching, you know, what you're looking to do is basically lining up this edge, and you're taking that back, and you're looking for that straight shot of air, and then no, let's see if I got a pointer here, no kind of lip, like right in this area here. And you're actually going to want to do that with the gasket, you know, if you're going to use a gasket, because I case matched the gasket as well, because if you don't do everything, you know, you're not exactly case matching it, right? So you're going to want to put that gasket on there, and then line up the bolt holes, and then set it on the case. And then you can see there, even with the gasket on there, it is nice and case matched with a straight shot, you know, up and into the cylinder. This should be pretty sweet. Taking a lot of time on this one to get it just how I want it. Also made an exhaust for it there, and I'm going to try out my Husqvarna assembly tool and see if we can figure this thing out. Got a bunch of pieces in here, but rather than, you know, heating your case up like a pleb, I've got the actual Husqvarna tool to get this thing all set up now. So, I'm going to try that out. Okay, well, I got online, and it looks like I need 502, 50, 30, 15, no, 16. So this is 08, I need 16. Oh, got it. Gasket all the way around in the pins. Oh, thank goodness. That is such a pain. Ugh. Okay. Screws ready to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think there was 1, 6 right there. Okay. Okay, I think that did it. Let's see where we're at here. Yeah, we are stuck. Stuck. I need to hit it this way. And I want to put a screw on the end of it here. So that's what we'll be hitting. And let's get this out of the way. and back this way. There it is. Okay, I think that did it. Oh, that is smooth. Okay, now let's take our knife, get this little piece of gasket out of here. There we go. Another little piece here. Go. Okay. Well, I guess before I do too much of anything else, I do want to see where this is gonna, at least for the squish. Yeah, one thing I like to do, I like to back these out one by one. And put a little Loctite on them. These are one thing you really don't want walking out on you. Alright, let's check our squish. Not bad. What do we got here? Alright, we are 35. Alright, well, for any of you super savvy machine nerds out there, and I guess chainsaw nerds, here we've got my Logan lathe, and I'm all set up here to start cutting some more. So let's go ahead and go through it. First of all, I want to run this tool in to where it's not going to hit anything. Kind of right where it meets the corner, but before it gets there, you know. Okay, so that is set right there. Make sure nothing's touching, and then make sure the cylinder is not going to hit anything as it's rotating. Okay, we're good to go there. Are we in far enough? Still not touching. Okay, I just saw a little bit of a chip come off of there, and we're watching this, right? So, let's do one more final check for rotation. Rotation is clear. I've got my tailstock locked in here, so it's holding the cylinder firm. And let's start it up. Okay, and we are going to watch this and come into it and get to let's go to 62. Okay, and then from there we want the apron to not move. We'll lock it in there, and we'll hit our lever, start backing it out, and making some chips. Alright, if my lathe is fairly tight and my measurements were correct, I should be coming out right about 22 to 23 thousandths. I was really trying to kid myself, you know, that I wanted something that wasn't like a super rowdy saw. What was I thinking? No, I want something that's, you fire it up and it immediately puts a smile on your face. I mean, that's what I want. Okay, let's see where we ended up here. Yeah, right on the money. 22.23. Right there. Okay, that's what I wanted. Let's continue on. Alright, so I'm back in Reassembly. And man, this is just... this is so much fun. I mean, that's why I guess I keep making these chainsaw videos. They're just so much fun for me. If there's anybody out there that's on some high-speed chainsaw stuff, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down there in the comments. Yeah, this is just too much fun for me. Okay, let's see, where are we at here? We got the cylinder on. We got the oil pump in. We got 2 O-rings. I like to put an extra O-ring up here for some additional kind of security and comfort. What else do we need? We need our clutch on. We need this cover plate on. I think that will pretty much wrap it up this side of the situation, along with our brake flag. I did find one useful thing on this installation tool. The size seems to be perfect for setting these bearings. And I just basically hit it, you know, in there. And it pretty much sets it perfect, I think. Yeah, it's got that little recess. I think that's actually what that's for. I don't know what the other part of it does, but that seems to work pretty good. Okay, back together. Let's go. High speed. Okay, so it's got a little jiggle in it. I want to rotate it toward timing. We'll do that. And we'll get our 13. Yeah, hopefully it comes together pretty quick here. I'm losing light. There we go. Trying to figure out which bolts go where. Alright, well, it is times like these I just start getting all giddy like a dang schoolgirl about to go jump rope, you know what I'm saying? It's a weird feeling for a man, but it does happen. You just have to let it happen, you know? Alright, those are in. We are ready to go here. Let's put this back on, even though I'm just not even going to. It's almost more harm than good on this unit here, because once you pull the limiters off of there, it's just so hard to see. You have to pull the cover off to get a good look at it. Okay, last thing. No exhaust. Alright, so, pro tip. Get a few of these $10 mufflers off of eBay, and then cut a big 1-inch hole in it, and then weld a 1-inch piece of pipe in it. There you go. High flow exhaust. Yeah, they're gonna be a little off, right? They aren't gonna be OEM quality, obviously, but they're definitely gonna do the job. But what I'm saying, like this thing here, it's like a ways away from home, you know. But you can just bring it back, get them started by hand here. And then may even want to loosen up here and here. Alright. And then get these started, because these are the important ones. Get these in and driven home, and then go back to those. Yeah, and then it'll just kind of work itself out. Yeah. Okay. Oh goodness. Goodness gracious. Okay, we are ready for fuel. Alright, man, what a journey. First fire after full rebuild, port work, and machine work. So, let's see. Let's see why my pull start isn't working. That's interesting. And I tighten the crank. Going through in my mind like all the stuff that I should have done that maybe I didn't do. It's been a long day. I've been working on the barn door, got the utility room all finished up. Alright, let's see if this will fire. Gotta turn it on. Yeah. May have flooded it. I must have missed a part or something in here. There's got to be some sort of return spring that I'm missing. It just keeps kind of wanting to work its way back. I guess that was that popping and crackling as I tighten those down. But yeah, that's going to be a saw that puts a smile on your face every time you go to run it. Oh man, once you go to a ported saw that's, you know, machined work, port timed, gone through with detail, care, and love, it's hard to go back. This saw was hurting, and it turns out this crank, was the problem. Even though the only obvious sign was purple, bluing on the actual rod. So I guess that is a, something to look for there. And, of course the piston damage, but, looking this over, I didn't see anything wrong with it that would have, I missed it. But redemption is mine. That's good man time right there. Anyways, it's coming up on hay season and summertime, so videos are going to slow down a little bit. I'm going to get back to hay season. I've got basically this year's cut completely sold, and orders, already waiting on this first cut. So it is going to be time to get the hay equipment ready and get in the field and do some work. So if you guys want to see that, make sure to let me know down in the comments there. Otherwise, get out there, have you some man time too.